Well, hello, that's me again. Today is Monday, June 3, 2024. And I have, oh my gosh, I have a lot to tell you, but let's start with what essentially my channel and my intent was. My channel was started by me, and my intent was from the get-go, which I explained that I want to explain to people, and especially lay people who do not necessarily have a background in geopolitics, what geopolitics is. It's a fake field of study, because actually the geographic foundation of it, which was started by Sir Halford Mackinder, it turned out to be not enough. I mean, obviously geography is important, make no mistake, but it turned into the very vast, combined, field of study, which has in its foundation not just geography, but primarily, especially with the new technology, which defies geography essentially, how to put it politely, power balance, global power balance. And global power balance requires a very serious technological and military knowledge. And obviously from the get-go, the knowledge which was exposed, so to speak, or paraded by Sir Halford Mackinder in his, remarkable article, which is the start of geopolitics, the geographic pivot of history. It was good for, start of the 20th century. We live actually in the end of the first quarter of the 21st one, and things changed. By God, they changed. So let's start with that thing, and that is very important to keep in mind, because it requires serious elaboration and serious comment, so to speak, on that. And here we are. As RT reports, that Pentagon seeks to books on Russian military strategy. The U.S. Department of Defense has put out an order for several books by Western researchers on Russian and Chinese military strategies. The materials are meant for U.S. Air Force personnel stationed at Maxwell Air Force Base in Alabama, which is home to Air Force Historical Research Agency and Air University. The order, which was made in mid-May on the government e-procurement system, is for the following books: Strategia, The Foundation of the Russian Art of Strategy by Ofer Friedman, a lecturer at King's College London. You can immediately throw it away because it's going to be useless. Then you have Russian Grand Strategy in the Era of Global Power Competition by Andrew Moynihan, and Putin's War in Ukraine, Russia's Campaign for Global Counter-Revolution by Samuel Ramani. First, it is very interesting that they really buy these books, obviously not for the high military academic level. The high military academic level being, of course, the war colleges, such as the U.S. Naval War College, U.S. Army War College, or for that matter, there are what would be roughly, which is not even close, but still roughly equivalent of the Russian Military Academy of the General Staff, which will be the General Staff and Command College in Leavenworth, Kansas. Well, let's start with this thing. Let's take a look at who are the authors of this strategy thing is, So if you take a look at, for example, who Sam Ramani is, as you can see yourself, it's RUSI, Royal United Services Institute, Associate Fellow, Tutor of Politics and International Relations, University of Oxford. Okay, you already can say immediately that it's not going to be a good or anything. It's going to be a lot of the scholastic, pseudo-academic BS, but still. Dr. Samuel Ramani is a Tutor of Politics in International Relations at the University of Oxford, where he received his doctorate in March 2021. He is also a geopolitical analyst and commentator who contribute regularly to media outlets such as Foreign Policy, The Washington Post, Newsweek, Al Monitor, and think tanks such as Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. That immediately disqualifies him from holding any kind of the serious discussion on strategy, apart from the fact that he has briefed the NATO Intelligence Fusion Center, U.S. Department of State, France's Ministry of Defense, the French Military School Strategic Research Institute, and UK Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office. So this is pretty much explains to you that the guy has absolutely zero military background. He has zero even basic tactical command experience. He has absolutely no military engineering background. And when I say engineering, this is not the like American or U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, which is essentially the the construction engineers. No, we're talking about the military engineering in sense like the system integration, targeting protocols and things of this nature, which require extremely long study and knowledge of the physics, higher mathematics, mechanics, theory of probability, and on and on and on and on. And then, of course, you get into all those highly classified disciplines where you study the weapons, how they use both, and how they affect, obviously, tactical and operational level. Yeah, you can see yourself that this guy has no experience whatsoever. Then comes the other author of this thingy, and this is Ofer Friedman. Well, this guy is the Israeli product, and he is a senior lecturer in war studies, director of operations, Skin Center for Strategic Communications. Sure, conflict, security, that's his research interest. And he joined the King's College in 2016 after completing his PhD at the Department of Politics and International Relations at the University of Reading. Again, disqualifies immediately, but he is heavily Israeli, so to speak. He was a member of Canadian Network of Security and whatever, University of Calgary, and member of the editorial board International Center for Counterterrorism, PhD in Politics, University of Reading, Master's Counter-Terror and Homeland Security, Interdisciplinary Center Herzliya in Israel. Then he obviously Military History and Security Studies, Hebrew University, Jerusalem. If you want to see how good Israelis are, just don't go any further than the news and see yourself that basically it is basically the army of thugs. That's pretty much, and it's not really the army. It's a sort of police force. They have like Air Force, and most of what they have is supplied by the United States. So the guy with zero, again, command experience, with zero serious engineering experience, here are the people who write about, strategy. And of course, if you take a look at authors who really matter and who, how to put it politely, they really know their subject, you shouldn't go any further than my good friend Colonel Jacques Beau, a cadre officer of Swiss intelligence, essentially liaison with NATO. Very long service there. You can go and look up, Mr. Lester Grau, Lieutenant Colonel. He is military interpreter, but he is very proficient in Russian, and his Russian Art of War also was, very serious book. It was published in 2016, but now obviously it needs to be very severely updated, if you wish. But those people are actually who have the serious experience serving in the intelligence and military formations of NATO, essentially. So, and those guys, they generally know their subject. They're pretty good at it. Read the latest book by Jacques Beau, The Russian Art of War. So, and you will recognize immediately that you're dealing with a professional. And it actually part of his book is dedicated to what I'm doing right now. And I was doing basically for the last 2.5 years, exposing the so-called Western strategic and operational thought as the bunch of the nincompoops who do not even understand what strategy is. United States, for example, cannot do strategy. Because they don't have foundation for this strategy. They don't know Russia. It's all about any strategy. For that matter, any kind of the tactical or operational matter, it all depends heavily on the inputs. But when you have as the inputs garbage, which is, of course, the whole Western so-called academic community, 99% of it, they have no clue about Russia. Most of them actually do not speak Russian. So, but yet they write books about it without even understanding what they're dealing with, without understanding idiosyncrasies, and to demonstrate to you. So we talk about strategy, right? Let me remind you, and how to put it politely, this is one of the demonstrations. This is a senior level of the, remember this, 9 June 2023, this is the senior level of the United Kingdom Armed Forces. They are really pushing, they are really not very professional, but hey, look at this. He was a lieutenant colonel in the Hamish de Breton Gordon. Evidently he has some aristocracy roots, in England. This is what he wrote in Telegraph. British made tanks are about to sweep Putin's conscripts aside. The guy already is absolutely living the fantasy world. As a former tank commander, I know the Challenger 2 vastly outmatches what's left of Russian armor. Yeah, it's outmatches in terms of price and in terms of not being ready for the modern battlefield. And yeah, after a few of them have been burnt, they withdrew them to the rear because they don't want the embarrassment anymore. And this is the type of people who sit in the, for example, UK Defense Ministry, they sit in the European NATO headquarters, and they really believed this BS. That is why they miscalculated, and now they get another nincompoops, pardon me, who won't be able to hold any serious discussion on the issues of strategy and long-term planning, and yet they want to provide again the same garbage inputs. So, and just to demonstrate to you what is happening in the contrast. So we have the sun suddenly. And oh yeah, baby, if that was in 2023, look almost to the year how the tune has changed. War cry, Putin would obliterate Britain's embarrassingly small tank fleet in 2 weeks, and Russian war won't stop ex-army officer. Where have you been, dude? Where have you been all? You all were singing the same old embarrassing story based on this copious amount of BS, which of course Armed Forces of Ukraine provided you together with their intelligence services, and that tells you immediately about your professional, or rather lack thereof, level if you bought it. And believe me, Pentagon bought this crap, because evidently those people have no clue what they're dealing with. And here it is. Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Crawford, former Royal Tank Regiment officer, said the UK is no longer seen as a tier 1 military power thanks to its dwindling forces. Well, yeah, it hasn't been seen as tier 1 once the Reign Army have been essentially dissolved, which of course came after the collapse of the Soviet Union. But even then, it was just the part of the larger NATO force, which still wasn't enough, as we already know, to stop this hypothetical Soviet army advances to the, to Rhine and to the shores of the Western Europe. I mean, why would Soviet Union do that? They really didn't want to do it. They could, but hey, here it is. And now we have this situation. So, the Sun talks about this, and he says, the former officer army says simply that 148 tanks ain't going to cut it, and dubbed the number laughably small. An EU general told the Sun, size matters, after army nosedive to a historic low of just 73,000 trained troops. Ask, don't even ask the Wembley, New Wembley. I think so. The guys will fit just fine at, if not Anfield, they certainly will, get into the Arsenal Arena, whatever the name of it now. So it's now O2 or something like that. So yeah. You must have mass, you must have numbers. In Ukraine, you can see we must have mass to fight the Russian army. Well, I have news for those strategies, so to speak. You don't have mass, and you will not have it, because for that you need to have a very large economy. And not only very large economy, as per GDP numbers, which are BS provided by the all, without exception, fundamental financial institution of the combined West, you need to have complex economy and industrial one. So, and the Sun continues this lament. So they suddenly discovered this. The UK does not have the air and missile defense that Ukraine has for now. We have not needed it. Well, yeah, because Russia doesn't want to, attack combined West. But if she's forced, she will do it, and they will do absolutely nothing. So, and here he comes with this very interesting conclusion. Even a quite elderly Russian cruise missiles, I'm going to cite KH-101, released from an aircraft over Western Russia, arrives in London 90 minutes later with a 500 kilogram explosive warhead and accuracy of 2 meters. So pick your door in Downing Street. Well, I mean, it's better accuracy than 2 meters nowadays, but it doesn't matter. 2 meters is fine for 500 kilograms. They have to pray that it's not KH-102, which is KH-101 with the nuclear warhead. And believe me, when that thing flies, yeah, London will be done pretty much. You don't need to hit, and still, it's still very accurate. And he is talking for some reason why he calls it elderly when KH-101 is rather actually new missile. It's started to be used, with the industrial quantities from the 2015 when Russians started to kill the ISIS in industrial quantities. So in Syria, so yeah, it's not really that old. But yeah, good example. And that just tells you practically everything you need to know about those strategists who now got them, or at least they are beginning to get the message that, guys, in order to fight real continental warfare, you need to have more than just PR. And PR is primarily what they need, they are capable of doing. They can only spin. They cannot calculate operation, evidently. So we now begin to, and that's why many people who have some, brains and IQ above room temperature, they started to recognize that something is not, right with this planning, when they thought that the Ukrainian armed forces, well, theoretically could, they were not supposed to win outright. They could precipitate the collapse of Putin's regime. So, well, that tells you everything you need to know. Russian study field in the United States is a combination of shysters. They are all shysters. They are nincompoops like Max Boot or Julia Ioffe or Rebecca Koffler. And I can take Anne Applebaum. That's a great scholar. She would know how to solve quadratic equation or how the combined forces calculated. She has no background. But these are those people, these are those specialists in Russia. And then, of course, they sold this BS to Pentagon and CIA, or as my good friend Larry Johnson said, that those people in CIA who understand, they write the reports, they go up there and then they blocked because those people in charge, they do not like to hear bad news. But the whole idea behind my activity for the last 10 years and my constant running was that, guys, do not know what you're getting yourself into. Don't go there because you're going to be defeated. Well, guess what? Color me surprised. I wrote 4 books on that. So, but it is what it is. Now, we have to go to this position, so to speak. Here's Mr. Kirby. Yesterday, I underlined at 6:20 actually, the 3:27, pardon me, the timestamp where Mr. Kirby says that, while he still lies that Israel has accomplished most of their goals in Gaza, I mean genocide, obviously. This teary and sentimental admiral who would know the difference between the destroyer and the rowboat, he talks about at this timestamp 3:27 that actually United States is not, and Biden's administration is not going to be responsible for starting of the World War III. And of course, he says that we don't want to get into the shooting war directly, I like the clarifier, with Russia. Well, I have news for him. If the United States gets into the shooting war with Russia directly, it will be United States which will go completely nuclear because it will be defeated with the catastrophic results and the catastrophic losses, no matter how they try to play it, But again, you understand, Pentagon is good really at PR. Fighting real wars, not so much. So, and this is very interesting because obviously Kirby, the same as Biden administration, do not understand that this idiots already started World War III, and they can thank those neocons, those Zionists who dominate their administration. And yeah, the fact that he says that Israel somehow accomplished some goals, Israel and IDF have been humiliated, fighting with people with no serious artillery, with no really air forces, with no armor, and yet we're gonna see, well, let's put it this way, the IDF will classify those losses for many, many years, until the Israel dissolves, most likely, which many people think that is gonna happen, because these guys, yeah, they are basically trained to who knows how. I mean, it's really pathetic. Yet, as you understand, many people are still affected somehow by this Israeli history, which of course it fought primarily there at that time extremely backward, extreme, semi-literate, really, armies of Egypt and other Arab states. It's two wars. So, but yeah, they for some reason think that they have to study these wars and draw some lessons. They love to do this in the United States because there are many Christian Zionists who serve in the United States, including on the top officer level. And the only thing for them is just they don't study real strategy. They never did. Many of them don't know who Alexander Svechin is. They don't know who General Klokotov is. Many of them probably don't know who Gerasimov is. And they have no clue, actually, how Russian general staff operates and how this whole thing is conducted by them, like command and control of the Russian armed forces, what they think. And many people, most of them, they don't speak Russian. They don't read military thought, except for some, intel guys who are supposed to do it, by their, position, so to speak, and they read that in translation. But here it is, military thought, of course, being the main magazine of the, for specifically high and highest order officers of the Russian armed forces. I don't think so they really read. If they do, like Rebecca Koffler, they wouldn't understand anything because there's so much mathematics, guys, so much of this, like planning and how things to be done. But yeah, it is what it is. What can I say? So, and then we have this situation, this, by the way, which is also of the tremendously huge import. We have Vapor. Oh my God, basic training in Ukraine is barely covering the basics, commanders say. As Ukraine prepares to mobilize tens of thousands of men to address a critical shortage of soldiers amid intensified Russian attacks, Ukrainian commanders in the field say they are bracing for more of the new troops to arrive with poor training. Well, color me surprised. Actually, Larry Johnson actually spoke very well about this. You can find his videos on this, and he uses the one of the examples, the movie, I don't remember, Multiplicity, I believe, and it's an excellent example. So Washington Post continues with their lament. Wherever the new soldiers come from, Ukrainian field commanders said that because training is so deficient, they must often devote weeks to teaching them basic skill such as how to shoot. Well, really? And then they kind of conclude with this, so recruits get little experience firing live rounds. The officer said the training center received just 20 bullets per person. There are no grenades for throwing in training centers, and there are no grenade launchers rounds in the training center, said the officer, who of course spoke on the condition of anonymity because they were not authorized to do so publicly. This is the problem. We don't have proper training system in place, the officer continued, adding that Ukraine needs to its instructors to be taught by NATO trainees how to die faster, to condense the standard 2 months training into the 1 month. The prospect of being sent to dangerous frontline positions without adequate training is the main reason why Ukrainian men fear conscription. Of course, WAPO lies here through the teeth. No, this is not because they are fearing the conscription. They are fearing because it doesn't matter who you train, you're gonna get killed. And especially if you train by not NATO. The evidence of this so-called NATO training, it's a circus, really. And so they talk about this, and let me tell you something. I'll give you a definition, so to speak, of the combat training. If you didn't know, the course of the officer in Sandhurst, this great military academy from United Kingdom. They prepared evidently so many great officers. Cannot name one. I know one. I mean, Sir Anthony Beaver, who basically lies through the teeth about Russia and her history, especially World War II history. That is why the guy writes primarily junk, garbage. So, but he is a esteemed historian in Great Britain. But the point is, the study course is 44 weeks. Let me put it this way. When you're a cadre officer, for example, as I already stated, my education is, of all my classmates, is 6 academic years. Guess what? For 2 of those years, one of the major courses you study is called the Foundation of the Military Pedagogy and Methodics of the Combat Training. 2 years, guys. Military psychology and things of this nature. Why do you think it is? Well, because you need to train your troops, you need to train your subordinates, and guess what? You have to train. It's more than, well, in navies, and it's obviously way more complex than just training for the tank driving or even shooting the guns. And but still, you need to have professionals who understand the foundation of the combat training, what it is, how it is done. And it doesn't mean that everybody become, great trainers, but you become essentially military academician in terms of training. People go out and then defend their PhD thesis on those things, and it's very complex. If you look attentively at the documents which basically provide the guidance to the combat training, boy, large books, very, so very detailed. So, and if you think so that you can study this in 44 weeks, granted you study all other courses, as I already stated, all military courses, from the weapons and, to how to use the tactics and some introduction into the operations. So, yeah, not good. You will not have anybody who are really good at what they do. And as the result, and especially when you look attentively at how detached political level in the combined West is from the real strategy, military strategy, and understanding war, it becomes all clear. And you do not have those professionals, senior officers who have enough gonads, who have enough guts to stand up and say, you know what, this is wrong. We're doing this wrong. So here's one of them. Here's the guy we all know, Lord Austin. He says that Pentagon chief says war with China neither imminent nor unavoidable. Well, that's all nice, So even as Washington and Beijing seek to cool tensions, Lloyd Austin's remarks about Chinese activity in the Indo-Pacific drew a rebuke from China. So yeah, it is all about Taiwan, and they still are driven, those idiots in Washington, with their, how to put it politely, being stupid. That's what they're driven as. As I already stated, none of them is capable of doing strategy. They know how to talk about strategy. They quote Clausewitz, they quote Sun Tzu, they try to, fit all those, harebrained schemes, and actually confabulated military history of the United States into those so-called things strategy, and they do not know even the basic facts of the World War II. They don't know basic facts of how the Red Army fought, except for people of the scale of course, David Glantz and Jonathan House. The rest of them, they have no clue. So, and what do you expect? Result is catastrophe. And this is what happened in Ukraine. They sustained a historic level, humiliating defeat, and now they try to freeze the conflict. Well, guess what? Mr. Peskov, responding to the frozen issue yesterday, he stated that, and I'm not putting there, any kind of screenshot, you can easily find it. He said that, yeah, there will be no frozen conflict. We have the aims of we have strategy, and Russians are really good at strategy. We have our aims of our special military operations, and all objectives will be achieved. Okay, there you go. So, and then we obviously have this, horrendous situation. Even those institutions, and again, practically all economic data which is provided by all those International Monetary Fund, World Bank, and all that, it's garbage. But at least when they use the purchasing power parity, so and what happened, that Russian economy per World Bank has been already the 4th economy in the world by PPP, purchasing power parity, as early 2021. Yeah, and so even these shysters, and again, you have to understand who World Bank is. These are banksters. The only thing they know is debit, credit, and how to steal other people's money. And even they have to say that according to calculations by RIA Novosti, Russia clung to the position it had achieved with 6 trillion and 6.45 trillion in those respective years compared to 5.9 trillion and 6.3 trillion for Japan and for Germany. And again, Japan, the only thing Japan which really has on Russia big time is of course Japan's immense shipbuilding, which it is huge, and of course auto production. The rest of it, Japan in terms of aerospace is not even in the same league with Russia. In terms of the machine building complex, I probably say Russia and Japan produce about the same nowadays. Germany is not a factor anymore. And now when you begin to look at what is going on in terms of the growth of Russian economy, it is 5.2% year to year, and in industry grows with, I mean, leaps and bounds. It's almost not funny how fast it goes. And in the end, in the conclusion, you know what, you know this funny show Zelensky tries to, do in Switzerland. Here we have the situation. Australia reports, the Sydney Morning Herald, that Senior Cabinet Minister Bill Shorten will represent Australia at Ukraine Peace Summit, which not going to be attended by China, obviously Russia, many other people. And so later this month, and he will attend this. And who is this Bill Shorten? Let me explain who Bill Shorten is. William Richard Shorten, he is a Minister for Government Services and Minister for the National Disability Insurance Scheme. The guy is responsible, this is what Minister for Government Services is, for welfare, Medicare, yeah, and he also for, if you look attentively at what he's responsible, he is the guy basically from the insurance field. So yeah, I think so his presence on the on this Swiss conference will definitely, add weight to whoever will be visiting there. So, and just to show you how desperate things are in Ukraine, I will close this. This is delightful. Here we have defense of Ukraine, that was 2 days ago. Born to fall, cannot fly. 9 Russian jets have been proven it in May 2024. Russian jets destroyed in May. Photo focus Ukraine. Okay, immediately comes this. Carl Ford, MiG-29 Russian Air Force, the pilot ejects from the burning aircraft, fair for 24 July 1993. So, yeah, this is what also happens with all those S-400s, which Ukraine obviously kills every day in hundreds, and yeah, all those hundreds of thousands Russian servicemen killed and things of this nature. And you're talking about strategy? They are nincompoops there. They don't know what it is to command and control troops under serious combat conditions. The only thing they know, and I understand this in no way diminish the fact that there are competent people still, and there are some people who are heroic and courageous people, make no mistake. But let me tell you what tactics is. Call close air support. Strategy, throw everything you need in the standoff weapons, then, buy the political elites of some third world crap hole, and there you go. Declare the victory and run away. So there you go. That's the strategy. So this is everything I needed to tell you today, guys. Well, there's more than that, but this is, as always, those who like what I do, please subscribe to my channel. And those who can afford, please support me on Patreon or buy me a coffee or two. This will allow me to continue to do what I'm doing. So thank you for your attention, guys. Bye-bye.